Yesterday about having 3 jobs and still struggling. I see a lot of people telling me to live below my means and that I live an extravagant lifestyle. I'm a teacher, so I don't know what teacher you know of that lives an extravagant lifestyle. I don't think you should have to look like you are literally living on the streets in order for people to take you seriously about what you're saying. I still have to buy groceries for my family. I'm looking at my checking account and I'm like, man, when am I going to get paid next? It's going to be another week until I get paid. I only have so much money in my checking account. I don't want to put my groceries on a credit card, but what am I going to do? That's what I mean by struggling. I feel like the people that get it, and those that don't are willfully choosing not to understand what I'm saying. And by living comfortably, I mean I should be able to buy groceries for my family without having to make a life decision between my checking account and a credit card. That's what I mean by struggling.
I really don't care.
Well, I like the fact that she's at least trying to live within what she actually has and make it stretch until that next payment as opposed to borrowing money in order to pay for the future. Much respect for that. Now, she mentioned that she had 3 jobs. I saw the video before that that she was referring to that people started criticizing her about. She doesn't have 3 jobs, in my opinion. What she's considering 3 jobs is her one job, which is a legitimate job, is she's a teacher, right? But then the second job is just her doing tutoring, like after her shift. And then the third job she considers making content. So being a content creator, what we just watched, that's what she was considering her third job. And those aren't jobs. So let me just go ahead and put a definition on this because I see a lot of people considering things that aren't jobs, in my opinion, jobs. Jobs are something that you are committed to, that you have to show up for. It's not optional, right? If you don't show up on time for your allotted shift, then there will be consequences behind it. And then just to add even more context, I feel like, okay, it needs to scale back 10 hours for each thing you want to consider a job. Let me explain. Your first job, to consider that a job, you need to be making, 40 hours. Then when you want to consider the next thing a job, it needs to be at least 25 to 30 hours that next job. And then if you want to consider the next thing a job, it needs to be at least 20 hours to consider that a job. So combined, I feel like you should be working at least 80 hours a week if you're going to talk about you got 3 jobs. At least. Really 100 if you want to say I have 3 jobs out here and get the respect for it. Let's watch that next video.
What you do for a living or where you work, if you're working a full 40-hour work week, there's absolutely no reason why you should not be able to keep a roof over your head and food in your pantry, in your fridge, or whatever. Why you should not be able to have your little life of being able to afford small things. Like, you should be able to take one vacation a year with your kids when you're working 40 hours a week. I don't care if you work at McDonald's, babe. People like, well, if you want to live a certain type of lifestyle, then you shouldn't be a fast food worker. Why the not? We need fast food workers because I guess what? You going to McDonald's and you feel as though the person that is serving you and working their ass off, who's on their feet all day, who has been there day in, day out, don't deserve it because you think they're less than.
It's not about thinking anybody's less than. I think it's an ecosystem, right? It is, you know, for the most part, in mass and majority, the fast food jobs in most cases should be worked by younger kids or maybe younger adults, right? Somebody gatekeeping a fast food job on the fryer for 40 years, I don't think that that is makes sense to me, at least for my situation, I'll say. But also, we don't have to. She's saying that basically everybody should get the same outcomes because we're just for working 40 hours. Basically, all 40 hours should be considered the same no matter what you're doing with it, right? Which I have to disagree with because there are premiums on certain skills. Listen, when things get too complex like this, I just like to simplify. I will simplify it, but I want to hear a little bit more what she has to say, and then I'll give my full point.
I don't care where anyone works. I don't care what degree they have. If anyone is putting in a solid work week and they're not out here committing crimes to get what they have, they should be able to afford a home, food, and small things to make them happy. They should not be in fucking survival mode. And that and the part that irritates.
What about the situation, right? Because she even said, like, at the beginning, she said you should be able to take a vacation with your kids, right? See, here's the context that we're not adding to this. Taking a vacation as a single childless person and taking a vacation with a family are two totally different things with two totally different costs. Let's say you have three kids, and I'm gonna even say that there's not a man in the situation, so we can remove that cost. Four of y'all taking a vacation. That's four mouths to feed. That's four plane tickets. If y'all go to an amusement park, that's four tickets for that. And not to mention, kids are just going to be wanting everything they see, and you're going to have to appease them at certain increments, right? So these are two totally different things, and that's why you have to add the context, right? Because certain people feel like they should be able to live a certain way, although they put certain wounds on themselves that then hinder them to be able to get ahead. If you take out a credit card and you got interest biting at your active income coming in, you chose to do that. If you have student loans, the list can go on and on. But there's a lot of other things that can contribute to this. Because I would argue, now remove the house from the equation based off how houses are. Because there's people who make great money who still can't justify affording a house, right? Or it's just a big decision that they have to weigh it, right? And say, me getting this house might be me putting a self-inflicted wound on myself. So take away the house. I think that if you make sure that you don't take on too much overhead on your shoulders, I think you can work a 40-hour fast food job and take care of yourself at the very least, right? But it's when we start doing other things and then no, that fast food job's not going to cut it. And I'll make my previous point I was going to make earlier that I said we overcomplicate these things, and when things get too overcomplex, I just like to simplify. Listen, all jobs aren't the same, and the reason is simple. Here's a simple framework you can look at a job to know whether or not it's going to pay more or it's going to pay less. And this is really how it works. If anybody can replace you at your job, if anybody can come in on the street and just start doing the job that day and maybe even do a better job and maybe even be a better fit because they might have a better attitude because they're new. So it might actually be beneficial to replace certain jobs. Certain jobs, too much experience just comes with extra trauma, extra resentment, extra disgruntledness. The longer somebody has to work in that job, because it's an ishy job, it's actually more lucrative to replace. But ultimately, the point I'm making is, if it's easily replaceable, if anybody can come off the street and start doing it, then yes, it's not gonna pay as good as a job that's harder to replace. Why? Because the job that's harder to replace, that actually requires a specific skill set, it's valuable. So we're overcomplicating this and we think it's like something out to get us. No, we're just not taking a step back and understanding how this world really works and then adjusting our strategy to win based off the rules of the game. It's that simple. And see, another thing that a lot of people like to do is in their free time, they like to think of ways they can spend money. They like to just relax. And another rule of the game, and when you have off time after your 40 hours of work, if you really want to get ahead, you're going to have to do some more work. Now, that can be actually getting another job, or that could be building something that might be something in the future. But if you want to just do the regular thing that the average person does, again, that if everyone's doing it, then it's not valuable. So it's probably not going to have that big of a payoff. This is the things we have to do. We just don't want to do it. And then at the same time of not doing the extra things we need to do to get ahead, we're actually nipping at our own heels and handicapping ourselves because in the meantime, we're actually putting more negative things, more self-inflicted wounds on ourselves. In the meantime, that's only making it worse on us. So that's how we got to start looking at it. We'll leave it there. Like the video. Also subscribe if you want to join the Legion. Cash App link below if you want to buy your boy iced coffee. Tip the channel. And also feel free to join the Patreon where I post self-improvement content. Until then, I'll catch you in the next video.